My best friend confessed she slept with my husband before we got married, then tried to laugh it off. Now she's furious that I'm cutting her out of my life. I'm 31F, and my best friend, Megan, 30F, has been in my life for over a decade. We met in college and have been through everything together: heartbreaks, wild nights, graduations, and even stood by each other at our weddings. I thought she was like a sister to me, someone I could trust with my deepest secrets. My husband, Luke, 33M, has known Megan for almost as long as I have, but I never thought much of it. They were friendly, sure, but it wasn't anything weird. At least that's what I thought, until Megan dropped a bombshell on me last weekend that turned my world upside down. We were out for drinks, a typical Saturday night catch-up, when Megan casually mentioned something that made my stomach drop. "Oh my God, remember that time I hooked up with Luke?" she said with a laugh, like it was some kind of joke. I froze, my drink halfway to my lips. "What?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She just kept laughing, like it was no big deal. "It was before you two got together. Years ago. Don't be mad, it's ancient history." But I wasn't laughing. My heart started pounding in my chest, and suddenly the room felt too small, too loud. How could she say that so casually? I stared at her, trying to process what she had just said. "You slept with Luke?" I asked, my voice shaking. Megan rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed that I was making a big deal out of it. "Yeah, but it was before you guys were even dating. We were both drunk. It didn't mean anything," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "But it meant something to me. How could she have kept this from me for all these years? How could Luke have never mentioned it? I felt like my whole life had been built on a lie." I didn't even know what to say to her at that moment. I just sat there, stunned. Megan, oblivious to my shock, kept talking, as if this was some funny anecdote we could laugh about together. "I mean, it was one time. I didn't even think about it after it happened. You two are perfect together, right? So it's not like it matters." But it did matter. Every word coming out of her mouth felt like a punch to the gut. How could she act like this was no big deal? I trusted her, confided in her, shared every part of my life with her. And this was how she repaid me. I felt tears prickling at the corners of my eyes, but I forced myself to stay calm. I needed to get out of there. I couldn't listen to her laugh this off like it was nothing anymore. "I need to go," I said abruptly, grabbing my bag and standing up. Megan looked confused. "Wait, are you seriously mad?" she asked, her tone incredulous. "Come on, it was years ago. We're best friends. You're not really going to let something like this come between us, are you?" I didn't even answer her. I just turned and walked out of the bar, my heart racing. The second I got outside, I felt the tears spill over, and I rushed to my car, desperate to get home and away from her. As I drove home, my mind was spinning. How had I never known about this? How had Luke kept this from me? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I felt betrayed by both of them. Megan, who was supposed to be my best friend, and Luke, the man I had trusted more than anyone. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel as I replayed the last few years in my head, wondering if there were other secrets they had kept from me. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I was shaking with rage. I needed answers, and I needed them now. When I walked into the house, Luke was sitting on the couch, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "Hey babe, how was your night?" he asked, smiling up at me. I didn't answer. Instead, I stood in the doorway, staring at him, trying to decide how to even begin this conversation. "Did you sleep with Megan?" I blurted out, my voice louder than I intended. Luke's smile vanished, his eyes widening in shock. "What?" he asked, clearly caught off guard. "Did you sleep with her?" I repeated, my voice shaking now. "Before we got together, did you sleep with Megan?" Luke stood up, running a hand through his hair, clearly trying to figure out what to say. Yeah, he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it was years ago, before we were even dating. It didn't mean anything, I swear." His words felt like a slap in the face. "And you never thought to tell me?" I asked, my voice cracking with emotion. "You never thought I deserved to know?" Luke sighed, looking down at the floor. I didn't think it mattered. It was so long ago, and I didn't want to mess things up between you and Megan. Mess things up? I repeated, my anger boiling over. You didn't think it would mess things up when I eventually found out? Because I would have found out, Luke. And now I have. And guess what? It does mess things up. I could feel the tears coming again, but I fought them back. I wasn't going to cry in front of him. Not yet. How could you keep this from me? I asked, my voice shaking. How could both of you keep this from me? Luke stepped toward me, his hands up in a placating gesture. It didn't mean anything, he said again. It was one night, it didn't matter. But it matters to me. I shouted, finally letting my tears fall. It matters because you both lied to me. You kept this secret from me for years, and now you expect me to just shrug it off like it's nothing. I trusted both of you, and now I don't know what to think. Luke looked devastated, his eyes wide with guilt. I'm sorry, he whispered, stepping closer. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you without it blowing up like this. But it was too late for apologies. The damage had already been done, and I wasn't sure if we could come back from this. I didn't say anything else to him that night. I couldn't. I went straight to bed, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. How could Luke have kept this from me? How could Megan have laughed it off like it was some kind of joke? I felt like I had been living in a lie, like the foundation of my marriage and my friendship had been cracked all along, and I just hadn't seen it. I barely slept that night, tossing and turning, my mind replaying every moment I had spent with Megan and Luke, wondering if there were other lies I didn't know about. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, and my heart felt heavy in my chest. Luke was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, looking like he hadn't slept at all either. We need to talk, he said softly, but I didn't want to talk. I wasn't ready. Not right now, I muttered, pushing myself out of bed and heading to the bathroom. I needed space. I needed to clear my head before I could even begin to figure out what to do next. The idea of facing Megan again made my stomach turn. For the next few days, I avoided both Luke and Megan. I stayed busy with work, avoiding any conversation that would force me to deal with the mess that had been dumped on me. But I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. Eventually, Megan started blowing up my phone with texts and calls, begging me to talk to her. She was angry that I had left the bar without saying goodbye, and even angrier that I wasn't responding to her messages. Seriously, you're mad about this? One of her texts read, "It was years ago. You need to chill out. You're overreacting." Overreacting. That word made my blood boil. How could she call this an overreaction? My best friend had slept with my husband, and she had the audacity to act like I was the problem for being upset. After days of dodging her messages, I finally decided to respond. "You think I'm overreacting?" I texted back. "You kept this from me for years. You laughed in my face like it was some kind of joke. How am I supposed to be okay with that?" Megan's response came quickly. "It didn't mean anything. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd freak out. I didn't want to ruin our friendship." Our friendship was already ruined, I thought bitterly as I stared at my phone. How could she not see that? I didn't respond to her text, but a few hours later, she showed up at my apartment. I wasn't in the mood to see her, but I let her in, hoping that maybe we could talk this out. But the second she walked through the door, her attitude set me off. "You're really making a big deal out of this, aren't you?" she said with a smirk, like the whole thing was still funny to her. "I mean, come on, it's Luke. You guys are married now. What does it matter?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "What does it matter?" I repeated, my voice trembling with anger. "It matters because you lied to me, both of you, for years. How can you act like this is no big deal?" Megan rolled her eyes, crossing her arms over her chest. "God, you're being so dramatic. It's not like I'm still sleeping with him or something." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. How could she be so flippant about something that had shattered my trust? "You need to leave," I said quietly, not trusting myself to speak any louder. "I can't do this right now." Megan looked taken aback. "Wait, you're kicking me out?" she asked, her voice dripping with disbelief. "You're seriously ending our friendship over this?" I nodded, my jaw clenched tight. I can't be friends with someone who doesn't respect me enough to be honest with me, I said, my voice shaking. And I can't be friends with someone who laughs in my face about something that has destroyed my trust in both you and Luke. Megan's expression shifted from disbelief to anger. Fine, she snapped. If you want to be a drama queen about this, go ahead. But don't expect me to come crawling back when you realize you overreacted. I didn't even respond to her. I just opened the door and waited for her to leave. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her, and I collapsed onto the couch, feeling completely drained. I had just ended a decade-long friendship, and part of me wondered if I had made the right decision. But deep down, I knew I had. I couldn't keep someone in my life who didn't respect me, who thought it was okay to lie to me and laugh about it. As much as it hurt, I knew I needed to let Megan go. But that didn't make it any easier. The next few days were a blur. Luke tried to talk to me several times, but I wasn't ready. I didn't know how to forgive him for keeping this from me, and I wasn't sure if I could. I needed space to figure out what I wanted, what I was willing to tolerate in my marriage. Eventually, I told him I needed some time apart, and he reluctantly agreed to stay with a friend for a while. As soon as he left, I felt a wave of relief. I needed time to think, to process everything that had happened without him hovering around, trying to make things right. During the time apart, I realized just how much Megan's betrayal had hurt me. It wasn't just about Luke. It was about the years of friendship I thought we had shared, the trust I thought we had built. I kept replaying every conversation we'd ever had, wondering how many other secrets she'd kept from me, how many other things she'd laughed off. It made me question everything. And as much as I missed her, as much as I wanted to believe that we could work through this, I knew that our friendship was over. There was no coming back from this. But then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I got a message from one of our mutual friends, Sarah, 29F. I think you should know, the message began, Megan has been telling people that you're being a total asterisk about the whole thing and overreacting. My heart sank. Megan was spreading rumors about me, trying to paint me as the villain. Sarah sent me screenshots of Megan's messages, where she made fun of me for losing my cool over something so small. She told people I was being overly dramatic, that I couldn't handle the truth, and that I was ruining our friendship for no reason. I was furious. It wasn't enough that Megan had lied to me for years. Now she was trying to turn people against me. I immediately called Sarah, trying to wrap my head around what I had just seen. Why is she doing this? I asked, my voice shaking with anger. I thought maybe we could just let this go, but now she's making me look like the bad guy. Sarah sighed on the other end of the line. Honestly, I think she's just embarrassed, she said. She knows she messed up, but instead of owning it, she's trying to make it seem like you're the one in the wrong. Hearing that only made me angrier. I had been willing to let her go to move on with my life, but now she was trying to destroy my reputation. I wasn't going to let that slide. Thanks for telling me, I said to Sarah. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I appreciate you having my back. After hanging up, I sat there for a long time, trying to figure out my next move. Should I confront Megan again? Should I expose her for the liar she was? Or should I just let her keep digging her own grave and stay out of it? I didn't know. Later that night, Luke called me, clearly sensing that something was wrong. Are you okay? He asked, his voice filled with concern. I hadn't told him about the rumors Megan was spreading, but now I felt like I had to. Megan's been telling people I'm the one who ruined our friendship. I said, my voice tight with anger. She's calling me a for being upset about what happened. There was a long pause on the other end of the line before Luke spoke. I'm so sorry, he said quietly. This is all my fault. If I had just been honest with you from the beginning, none of this would be happening. I didn't know how to respond to that. Part of me wanted to blame Luke for all of it, but I knew that wasn't fair. Yes, he had kept the truth from me, but Megan was the one who was making things worse now. It's not just you, I said finally. Megan is the one spreading lies about me, trying to make herself look innocent. I don't know how to handle it. Luke sighed. Maybe you need to cut her out of your life for good, he suggested. She's obviously not the friend you thought she was. I knew he was right, but that didn't make the decision any easier. The next day, I decided to confront Megan one last time. I couldn't let her keep trashing my name without standing up for myself. I sent her a text telling her we needed to talk, and she agreed to meet me at a cafe near my place. When I arrived, Megan was already there, sipping on a latte like nothing had happened. "So, what's this about?" she asked, her tone annoyingly casual. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I know what you've been saying about me," I said, my voice steady. "I've seen the messages. Why are you trying to make me look like the bad guy?" Megan's expression didn't even change. "Because you are overreacting," she said, shrugging. "It was one stupid night years ago. You're blowing this way out of proportion." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I'm overreacting?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You lied to me for years, and now you're spreading rumors about me because you can't handle the fact that you messed up. How is this my fault?" Megan rolled her eyes, clearly tired of the conversation. "You're just being sensitive," she said. "Honestly, I don't even know why we're still talking about this. It's not a big deal. You need to get over it." That was the last straw. "I'm done," I said, standing up from the table. "I'm done trying to be your friend, done trying to make you see how much you've hurt me. You clearly don't care, so I'm not going to waste any more energy on this." Megan's eyes widened slightly, like she hadn't expected me to actually walk away. "Wait, are you serious?" she asked, her tone suddenly more panicked. "You're just going to walk away from a decade of friendship because of one mistake?" I looked her straight in the eye and said, "No, I'm walking away because of a pattern of lies and disrespect." As I walked out of the cafe, I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. It hurt to cut Megan out of my life, but it also felt like a weight had been lifted. I didn't need someone like her dragging me down, making me question my worth. I had spent too long putting up with her toxic behavior, and now it was time to move on. But as I walked down the street, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Megan wasn't the type to let things go easily, and I had a sinking suspicion that she wasn't done trying to stir up drama. Over the next few weeks, I tried to focus on myself and my marriage. Luke and I were still struggling, but we were working through it, slowly but surely. He was more open with me than he had been in years, and I could tell he genuinely regretted keeping the secret about Megan. But just when I thought things were finally starting to calm down, I got a phone call from another mutual friend, Erin, 32F. "You're not going to believe this," she said, her voice laced with concern. "Megan's been telling people that you and Luke are getting divorced because of her." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "What?" I asked, my voice shaking. "We're not getting divorced. Why would she say that?" Erin sighed on the other end of the line. "I don't know, but she's been telling everyone that you're ending things with Luke because of the drama she caused. She's making it seem like you can't handle your marriage because of one little mistake she made." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Megan was not only lying about me, but she was now trying to sabotage my marriage. I was furious, but more than that, I was hurt. After hanging up with Erin, I knew I couldn't let this continue. Megan had crossed a line, and now she was actively trying to ruin my life. I decided to confront her one final time, but this time I wasn't going to do it in private. I called Erin and a few of our other mutual friends, asking them to meet up with Megan and me at a neutral location. I wanted witnesses to hear what she had to say, to see her lies exposed for what they were. If Megan was going to keep trying to destroy my reputation, I wasn't going to let her do it behind closed doors. When we all met up, Megan looked surprised to see so many people there. "What's going on?" she asked, her eyes darting between me and the others. I didn't waste any time. "I know what you've been saying," I said, my voice steady. "You've been telling people that Luke and I are getting divorced because of you, and that I'm the one who can't handle it. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to ruin my life?" Megan's face flushed with anger. "I'm not trying to ruin your life," she snapped. "You're the one who's making this a big deal. You're the one who's ruining things, not me." "I'm ruining things," I repeated, my voice rising. "You're the one who slept with my husband, lied about it for years, and then laughed in my face when I found out. You're the one who's been spreading rumors about me because you can't handle the consequences of your own actions. This is all on you, Megan, not me. Megan's eyes flashed with anger, but she didn't say anything. The other people at the table were silent, watching the scene unfold. I could tell that some of them were starting to see Megan for who she really was, and that gave me a small sense of satisfaction. Megan finally broke the silence, her voice trembling with frustration. "Fine," she said. "If that's how you want to play it, then go ahead. Cut me out of your life. But don't expect me to sit back and let you drag my name through the mud." I shook my head, feeling a mix of anger and pity. "I'm not the one dragging anyone's name through the mud," I said quietly. "You did that all on your own." With that, I stood up, signaling that the conversation was over. Megan stormed out, and I sat back down, feeling a sense of finality. It was truly over. The weeks following that confrontation were quieter. Megan didn't try to reach out again, and I didn't hear any more rumors being spread about me. It was like she had finally realized that she couldn't win this fight. But even though the drama had died down, the damage was done. I had lost a decade-long friendship, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever fully recover from the betrayal. Luke and I were still working through our issues, and while I didn't know if our marriage would survive this, I knew that I had made the right decision in cutting Megan out of my life. I focused on rebuilding the trust with Luke, though it wasn't easy. Every time I looked at him, I couldn't help but remember that he had lied to me for years, that he had kept something so important from me. But he was trying, and for now, that was enough. We started going to couples therapy, trying to work through the issues that had been festering under the surface for so long. I wasn't sure if we would make it, but I was willing to try. At the very least, I wanted to know that I had done everything I could to save my marriage. As for Megan, I heard through the grapevine that she had moved on, surrounding herself with new friends and pretending like none of this had ever happened. It stung, knowing that she was able to brush it all off so easily while I was still grappling with the aftermath. But I also knew that I was better off without her. I didn't need someone like Megan in my life. Someone who thought it was okay to lie, betray, and laugh it off like it didn't matter. It had mattered to me, and in the end, that was all that mattered. Looking back, I realized that Megan had never been the friend I thought she was. I had spent years putting up with her selfishness, excusing her behavior because I thought our friendship was worth it. But now I saw things clearly. She had always been toxic, always put herself first, and I had been blind to it because I didn't want to lose her. But losing her was the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to take a hard look at the people I surrounded myself with and realize that I deserved better. I deserved friends who respected me. In the end, cutting Megan out of my life was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but also one of the most necessary. I've learned that friendships, like any other relationship, require trust, honesty, and respect. And once that trust is broken, sometimes it's impossible to rebuild. Megan will always be a part of my past, but she's no longer part of my future. As for Luke and me, we're still a work in progress, but I have hope. I'm stronger now, and I know that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. I'll be better without Megan.